Hi there.
Hey.
Hello.
You can turn on your video if you want.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You don't have to be movie star quality looks. I'm certainly not.
How do I do that? Now have a look.
On the bottom of the screen, is there an icon for video and...
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Start video. Yep.
Yeah, hey.
Hi.
We have one other
We'll
person.
just shut the door so it's a bit... Pardon?
We have one other person on the line. Oh, there we go. Matt Bird's in. Someone else. 06698454 is another person joining us. Hi, Matt. Make sure your audio is on. And the video is working well. I don't know who we have one other person who's on with us. Who hasn't turned the camera on yet. Can we hear you, Matt?
I hope so.
Yeah, there we go. Great. You guys used Zoom before?
Yep.
No.
Interesting.
First time.
It's one of the products that the owner of Zoom is offering it for the next 6 months to all K-12 schools free to use.
Oh. Yep.
in a full account. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And I wanted to test it out to see how it might work for us going forward. So it was a good meeting tool, I think.
I did an online course through Basto last year, and this was how all of our meetings were done. It was an online only course, so
yeah,
that worked pretty well actually.
Oh, okay.
I found it's fairly robust, like perhaps more robust than Skype. And it's quite easy to put people into groups and send them to a room and then bring them back. So you can host discussion, send people off into little groups and then bring them back. As the moderator, you control bringing people back in, and it's quite simple to do. So that's nice. I wish I knew who the other person was. They're still muted. They're not muted, but their video's not coming up. They're just a number at the moment. Just wait and see if we've got a few more people joining us or not. As a first call, and given how strange times are at the moment, I have no idea what numbers we'll have, but we're recording the call so we can share whatever is in here with anyone who couldn't make it. And I will pass on some apologies that I got today from Kirsty, Corey, and Adrian, who all had prior engagements tonight but would have joined us otherwise. So that's great. How are things going in your schools at the moment?
Okay. Business as usual.
Are the kids getting stressed out by all this?
A little bit.
Yeah.
There's so much misunderstanding and fear, isn't there? So.
And it's kind of coming at you constantly, isn't it? News and articles and Facebook and whatever else it's coming at you. It's kind of relentless. What about you, Matt?
Kids can't process it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, as you said, it's just sort of everywhere. Like, if you're just a footy fan, you're not really interested, but you want to hear about the footy. All they're talking about is, will footy go ahead or not? And cricket's not going ahead. They're not playing the finals because of this. And so, yeah, you can't get away with it. Our kids are pretty good. We're starting to plan a little bit for what we're going to do should we get shut down, with the expectation that we will.
Mm-hmm.
And we're thinking it'll probably be sort of next week. So we're kind of planning a little bit ahead and seeing, how can we talk to our kids online, or how can we set tasks that they can complete and still have some contact with them. So
yeah,
wait and see.
Well, I've been having a discussion online with educators around the world, and we're all saying, perhaps the standard curriculum, maths, science, whatever, is a little bit less important at the moment than social emotional stuff. So making sure that kids who don't come into school are okay, and their well-being is being taken care of. And so looking at maybe an alternate curriculum that we need for now. But yeah, we live in interesting times.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we might be it. That's good. We'll have a who do we have?
Yeah, Julie, sorry. Getting the dinner.
Oh, yes, between dinner and work. Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Julie. And so we've got Julie, Matt,
Amanda,
and Bron. Okay. And I'm recording this. I hope that's okay with everybody, just so that we can pop it into our archives as a point of our discussion. So
okay.
I want to start, if you guys have any questions first up, rather than leaving them to the end about what's happening with the project or what you're doing in your school or anything else regards this Minecraft Innovation Cluster project. So,
Kirsty's doing a couple of the online things tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't go to the one at, I think it was Banyule, because I was sick.
Oh, are you all better now?
So just about, yeah, just sinus and stuff.
Yeah, I've had
so couldn't go to that. So I have no. Pardon?
I've had terrible hay fever lately. It's like crazy. So I understand.
So I'm not sure what the cluster spoke about or anything. I'll have to get on and see if they've put anything in the team area.
I haven't posted it yet, but for the 2 meetings we had last week, I'm creating a summary of what we talked about with links to the key things we used, so that even if you don't get to a meeting, you'll know what was talked about at the meeting if it's relevant for you. So there'll be, you should see maybe tomorrow a summary document for the 2 meetings last week that just says, here's what we covered, here's what we talked about, here's some significant resources if you want to go follow this up. So, so yeah, we hope to do that. There were 2 great meetings last week, really great conversation, and some interesting things arose out of both of them. So some new, issues to attend to, I think, that were not necessarily considered before we started. So, for instance, the second meeting where we were looking at inquiry learning actually some issues arose about logins and the login process for kids. And because schools are so dependent on their own tech and are set up so diversely, the login process is varied across all those schools, and yet some schools were finding a very streamlined, seamless process, and other schools were having this great convoluted thing that went through Google and some other stuff and through other things, and they were finding that their teachers had like 10 minutes of process before you could actually get in. And so we're thinking about the possibility, at least, of having a kind of tech meetup digitally, perhaps, where we get the tech people from schools to talk about, the ones who've got the streamlined process, share what they're doing, and do that with someone representing Microsoft from Minecraft and someone from the DOE to talk about, that. So we can perhaps come out of that with a streamlined process, because it's a clear recognition that if the login process is problematic, new teachers won't jump into it. So, and
our kids don't have email addresses per se. And last year, I know Kirsty had some trouble because the process to get the email addresses wasn't working, and it was, challenging.
And if that's your entree to doing something in Minecraft, new teachers won't take it up. We have to make it share the good advice. So yeah, so that's certainly one thing. And we hope that, like any of the meetings, we'll archive what happened in them and share out so that people will be able to follow up or find out what happened and what we covered. So no FOMO needed. Any other questions? Sorry?
I was just going to say, is there a possibility of doing, it would obviously only work, I think, for iPads. It might work for computers, about a QR code based sort of login. I know there's a few programs like Mathletics and I think Essentials Assessment does it too now, that it's just scan code and that code sort of takes them in at all.
It'd certainly be something
we lost you, Bron.
Sorry? Am I back?
You're kind of dropping in a bit for me, I think, Bron.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me see if I've got too many things open. I'll just close some things.
Yeah, on my screen it says the network bandwidth is low.
Yeah, it just popped up for me too.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you. It's okay. I'll be back in a sec. I'm just closing out. Is that better?
Yeah, every now and again you just freeze and then I miss what you're saying.
Okay. I was saying that's certainly something we want to put on the agenda, Matt, as an option. That's why we need the tech people, teachers, someone from Microsoft and someone from DOE in that kind of tech conflab to say, here are the issues. Now, what can we do about it? And how do other people deal with this? And why aren't we doing that?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I think it's to make it a streamlined process is the ultimate goal. And this cluster group is really well positioned to really give good advice on that and to describe what's going wrong.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I did have a question today that came up. I was talking to, so I'm in grade 3. So at our school, our Bring Your Own Device program starts in grade 4. So grade 3, we have shared devices.
Yeah.
Quite lucky, just one as far as being able to work. The maps or creations that we have shared devices. We've had a number of kids who've had creations, and then if they get a different device they log into the next time, it's all new. So that ability to save their work to an account as opposed to a device, I think would be a big issue for us with shared devices. So it's fine if I create a world and they all work in mine, but if they create anything, sort of looking after that is more challenging. Like obviously we can number the devices and try and get the same one each time, but that's probably the biggest challenge that I face with shared devices and the kids having their own, challenges or creations that they have to try and perhaps revisit.
Yeah, and that did come up that one of the schools has solved that. So that's why we really need that conflab of people. How are you doing it and sharing it across all the schools? So coming up with some kind of login advice or installation advice for the tech people, so that no matter who your tech guy is, they'll have the best advice on how to manage this in a way that makes it simplified for everybody. So absolutely, that was one of the issues.
Fair enough.
Would that be the same with kids ruining somebody else's work as well, if it's sort of open to anybody?
And there's also archiving is another issue in relation to that. So how we manage archiving of kids' work so that we have a backup if something happens or someone does destroy somebody else's work. So yeah, I'm a big fan of backing up and also digital citizenship, so that you're teaching the kids that that's not the appropriate thing to do and that there are consequences if you do those sorts of things. Yeah. But yeah, I know how crushing it is for a kid to have done a lot of work and have it end up destroyed. How's dinner going, Julie? Julie keeps popping up to see how it
So I just summoned the troops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So bad timing for our secondary idea.
Yeah, it was. So I don't know what they're going to do at this stage.
Well, I'm wondering if we could
Did
come
anyone
up with an online alternative.
Yeah, maybe.
So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, well, I will talk to them, but I had a feeling we won't be around after the end of this week. So
Yeah, I've heard some gossip.
it'd be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, just my son's just got notification Swinburne shut down
Oh, wow.
just now, so they're suspending classes for a week, and then everyone will be online. Yeah, so I don't know. It would be interesting, but chances are it'll be till the end of winter.
Yeah.
That's potential reality.
Well, yeah,
So,
they're saying we're heading into something that's going to be the new reality for at least 6 months. So
yeah. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen in the short term. I don't know. I've got year 11 and year 12 classes as well, so
yeah.
a busy time.
Yeah. All right. Are there any other questions? Because I just want to go through, this is not necessarily for you guys because I know you know it, but I just want to just have a look at the team space and tell you what's there and what's coming in the team space. And so I'm going to share my screen, make sure I have the right screen up. And that's none of those. Why is it not coming up? There we go. So are you seeing the team space now?
Yep.
Okay. So just to unpack this so that anyone else watching this video of our session will know that the general is where our announcements happen. So if anything is suspended or changed or there's any news there, that's where things come up. And so I've been putting our announcements like this meeting or the weekly update and so on. And then we have our 5 cluster.
Lost your audio again, Bron.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, frozen.
Frozen. It's funny because I'm
Time
not
to check the dinner.
I'm not seeing me frozen.
There you go.
I'm not seeing me frozen, so I've tried to close down everything that could be problematic. Anyway, so then after general, we have our 5 cluster groups, and these are, a couple of them are quite active, others not so active, but discussions are taking off. And those should be the places that we're talking about nitty-gritty topics and things that we want to concentrate on. Cluster academies, we've had 2 last week in schools, and we have 3 this week, 2 tomorrow. The first one being on interaction, which is, Redstone agents, and so on. And then in the afternoon, coding. Both of those are now online, and I'm thinking preferably in Zoom, but I'll restart everything so that I have a bit of bandwidth to make sure that works. And we're saying to people, if you want to pop in just for an hour, I'm going to send everybody the link in the morning so that if you want to join in, you can, to the, just pop into the first hour or the last hour or whatever works for you. Probably the first hour is the best because that's where I'll be unpacking most of the technical aspects that you need. And then we're going to look at some projects together. So the other thing I wanted to talk to people about was the possibility of going into term 2 of doing a more micro cluster activity. So perhaps an hour online together on a particular topic, and whether that might be more amenable. I know CRT is an issue and we don't know where schools will be in a month's time. But what do you guys think about doing something that's more micro and more targeted as the training academies?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, it'll work for
the timing depends which would be the same for everybody.
Yeah, I think with a lot of this stuff, like everyone's up a little bit in the air. But if people know where they're supposed to be and stuff, they can organise it. The online course that I did last year was they were all at the same time. It was all straight after school, so sort of that 3:45 sort of to 4:45 sort of bracket, and that was probably the easiest to manage because most teachers would still be at school at that sort of time. So you just sit in the corner of the classroom and you know, it could be I don't know, make up a thing. It could be the first Monday of every month or whatever, or every odd Tuesday of a term or something. I don't know, but yeah, I think consistency, just so people can get on and see what's going on and get involved.
Yeah, I was thinking perhaps we could set like Wednesday afternoon, 90 minutes after school, and then collect topics that people want support on, and you know, just come to the ones you or your cluster really want to engage in, because this is a rare time to get very targeted support on what you want to do, not just from me, but from people like Lynn Telfer and David and, you know, other people who have things to contribute, other teachers in the network who want to contribute ideas or, you know, things on special education. We've got a few guest speakers that we want to involve as well. So I think you're right, something perhaps that has a set day without having to be announced, and, you know, you come as you need to, could work well. So is sort of 60 to 90 minutes something doable after school, or what do people think?
Yeah, I think most weeks would be fine.
I think it depends on the day because we have staff meeting on a Wednesday, so some people would have theirs on a Monday or a Tuesday.
Yeah,
So
we
it's
have
finding one that works.
Yeah, we have Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, when we
Maybe
looked at hosting these calls, only a few people voted, but those that did said, you know, 7 p.m. was a reasonable time in the evening, but that doesn't suit everybody. I do know I've run other academy kinds of activities at breakfast time, and people have found that's okay, but we just don't know going forward what sort of time of day is really going to work. So I'm just trying to field, rather than getting together physically, whether we can be more targeted and gather up all the topics people want support on, and organise bringing that along. I'm just getting a message that we've got somebody else joining us. Who have I got? Oh, Jake is joining us. And my internet connection is unstable, a bit like me.
I think getting together online would suit me better.
Yeah. Welcome, Jake. I'm just asking Jake to start his video. I'm sorry if I missed you at the start earlier. Yeah, I think online and pretty targeted would be a good way to go. We had, yes, last week we had great conversations. So I think there was, you know, some good planning documentation came out of what we were doing. So there's a lot to share. And so for each of our teams groups, we'll be looking at each of the clusters producing a resource of some sort of shareable resource that will go to the broader Victorian community using Minecraft. And then we have our homework projects. Am I still sharing my screen or not?
You've dropped out again, Bron.
Yep. Go on.
I Can you hear me? Just waiting for it to come back.
Here we go.
Am I back?
Yep.
Audio is.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's my laptop. I should have restarted before I started this session. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
You've got a few tabs open. That might be why.
Yeah, I do. I know. So the homework, last week's homework, people are still contributing, which is very cool, and we're having fun looking at those, the gateways to the past or the future. And then this week, looking at the mindful night and playing through that and giving some feedback on what we think about that. So, and already some people have started to talk about that. So that's really cool. The next thing that's going to be posted, not necessarily as a homework, is we're going to be posting up the lesson template that we're going to ask people to use for their projects, for their lessons or units or whatever it is you're planning to teach in term 2, given we have a term 2, and how that's going to work. And I'm kind of looking for a handful of people to give some feedback on that template and whether or not how useful it will be to use. So I'll be sending out a message about when the template's posted, and you might think about whether you want to get involved in sharing the template. I don't know what happened to Jake. Jake was there and then Jake is not. I don't think I lost him. So yeah, there'll be a lesson template, and that's the one we want to help you, want you to use, but we want feedback on it first to make sure if there's anything we need to refine on it, that we do that. In past projects, Rachel has found that teachers really appreciated having a template to work to, and that we could look across projects. Your actual lessons will be shared in your cluster. And so when you've actually prepared your lesson that you're thinking you're going to teach next term or your project, we'll ask you to share your lesson in your cluster and be critical friends to each other and talk about, okay, have you thought about doing this? Or, like, could you use 3D printing as part of your project or whatever? So you'll be sharing your lesson plans in your cluster, not with the whole larger group. So you'll have that more intimate group to share your lesson plans with and to get feedback. So that will be coming up later in the week. And, if you're interested, I'll try and send out a message to everybody. But if you're interested in being in a group to have a look at the template and just give feedback on it, if there's anything missing or if it's too much or is it too detailed or is it too long? Is there missing information? Because the idea is these lessons would be something a teacher coming after you could pick up and then have all of what they need to get going to start the lesson. So pretty important that we get it right.
Okay.
So if any of you are interested in being in that group, just let me know. Then we have our teleconference meetings. So that's these meetings. And I want to set aside a time, and Monday this week, and depending on what's happening next week, maybe Monday next week, but then look at what's a good day for term 2, and not weekly, but, every couple of weeks, just touch base with where people are and if anyone needs help. And they're not compulsory. It's just come along if you've got the time or the dinner's on the boil. Whatever you're doing. We have our project Q&A, and that's where, things going back to Rachel, if you need any support in terms of the team in DOE and what's happening there. And then also the technical support part, and that's more pointing back towards Microsoft about issues that you might be having that we can share back there. And our teacher introductions, well, most people have introduced themselves. There's a few people I will chase up because we like to know who everyone is in the group and make sure everyone's allocated in a cluster. So the team space is really meant to be our home for all our discussion, ideas, conversation, what's happening, and so on. And you see there on the screen the teachers from Kangaroo Flats who joined in the Teacher Academy this week remotely. So I think we had quite a successful session in that. And in each section there are files. So I think a lot of people may have overlooked the files that go with each section, each channel in the program. So make sure you've looked there, because updates, photographs, tools that came up in any of the meetings will all be posted in that particular channel, depending on what it is. So that's getting beyond the team space, and I just wanted to recap that to make sure everybody knows that's really the place to get your answer on things in terms of what's happening. If you need to ask a question, I sent everyone my mobile number, and I really want you to do that. Use it if you need. If there's a burning issue and you want an answer on the spot, if I can help or I can find a person who can help, I'll be very happy to pass that on. I did send that out so that people would know that you could contact me.
Okay.
So other issues just that we need to talk about is the plan to share our lessons in our cluster groups. I've already talked about. Digital academies going online, and each digital academy producing a resource. So for instance, the Managing Minecraft group will be creating just a collection of hints and tips on managing Minecraft in the classroom. And so we looked at across 3 areas: social, technical and pedagogical, and how you can best manage Minecraft. So there'll be some great advice come out of that, and those will be evolving over term 2 as well. As we move more and more online, we're going to have some conversations about, if you're teaching online, how you can be managing your Minecraft project, and you know, how things may work. Kids will have to necessarily be in single user, because we have, you know, the preclusions on being outside the network and things like that. So we have some issues that are going to come up there that we will need to dig into. Maybe you can teach your whole curriculum in Minecraft. That would be fun. But certainly tools like this, Zoom, are a great tool to think about using. I've been in meetings, I know it's not behaving its best tonight, but I've been in meetings of up to 45 or 50 people, and it's been a really effective tool. So we will want to think about that. Unfortunately, we have some hard and fast deadlines on this project, so we do have to wrap it up in term 2. In whatever modified fashion that may be, given the uncertain future we all have. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today in terms of what's coming up, what we need to pay attention to. Probably the big one's going to be the lesson template, and if people already know what they're teaching or what they might be teaching next term as part of this project. I know a number of people are trying to run projects that influence other teachers in their school to get involved, and I'm very keen to support that. So if you need, if you need a session on, getting others involved, or how to rope others in, or how to run a cross grade or cross year project, then that's certainly something we can think about. I'm guessing from what I've heard that schools, the goss I heard the other day was that schools will probably close next week and the week after the holidays at a minimum. So kids will be off for a month. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case, but that's certainly the goss I've heard. Anyone heard any better?
Not specifically, no, but I think potentially be longer than that, but that might be different in secondary school because kids can look after themselves at home.
Yeah.
So that's a different kettle of fish.
And they're in the age group that can contract the virus, as opposed to primary kids that don't seem to be as affected.
Well, there's 25 dogs down on the peninsula that have got it.
Really?
Yep, greyhounds.
Oh,
Wow.
It's interesting, isn't it? So who knows where it's going to end up?
although I talked to my vet and he said he has, there's an animal vaccine for COVID.
I think
in
they won't die.
Yeah, in animals,
Which
but
is
not our animals, not our category of animal, our species of animal. But for dogs and cats, there's been COVID disease for some time.
Yeah, it's part of the parvovirus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
quite fascinating.
so I don't know what's going to happen, but teaching online at secondary is not a hassle.
What will you be using?
It's really an opportunity. We have Compass, Microsoft Teams. We don't really need much more than that.
Rachel suggested possibly using WebEx. I don't know if people are fans of that.
I find the Teams easier because all our kids are already on there with their schools emails. Their name at schools.whatever.gov.au.
What about others? What will you be using if you go online?
Probably Google Classrooms will be the starting point for us because they've got sort of that Google suite, I suppose, which includes mail and everything else. But as a grade 3 teacher, we've literally said, well, for the next couple of days, we're going to need to teach them how to access the internet, like Google Drive, and then we're going to be doing some email etiquette. So if they're going to be emailing the teachers to ask questions or things like that, that we don't get any, hey, where's this type sort of messages. So that is the challenge for us without a bring your own device program that we know that their ability to be online might be intermittent if they've got their parents' devices or they need to be supervised. So we'll probably be setting some project sort of based work or maybe some sort of choose your own grids and things like that. But it's a bit of a suck it and see, and we'll try and get something out of them, but we're not exactly sure what we're going to get. So
yeah. And for you?
Yeah, same thing. There are quite a few families that won't have devices, so we can't do too much. So it'll be like what Matt said, doing projects, sending out some books, kids taking home more books from the library, things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of gearing up. The equity issue is huge, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're certainly miles in front there then, because every kid has a device and all their assessments are already submitted online. So the transition for us won't be that great. Even the year 7s have had to start submitting stuff online, so they're getting their heads around that. So yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So I don't even think using Minecraft is going to be an issue either, because we didn't have a problem with the Mindful Night, and because we were already thinking ahead about the possibility of working from home, they all used it independently on their laptops, and I just built in some requirements for them to submit stuff along the way so that I knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to go. If we can recommend good lessons with maps like a Mindful Night, where the kids can download it if they've got technology, or find an equivalent way to engage for those that don't. I think that could be very useful. And there are some fantastic lessons on the Minecraft site. There are some others that are not so fantastic, but certainly there's quite a number, and a number of teachers I can recommend you look at their lessons, because there's a couple of stellar standout people in different areas: science, foreign languages, SEL, digital technologies. There's a few stellar teachers. Of course, there's our amazing Lynn Telfer as well. But there's a few people I can recommend you go look at their lessons and see if any of those would work as well. English literature, there's some really good ones for secondary and primary. So maybe that's something I can do for my homework, is maybe give you some pointers to some things online that might be great places for the kids to work independently and in single user.
That'd be good.
All right, I said we would be 40 minutes and we are at our 40 minutes. So is there anything else anyone wanted to ask?
No,
No?
No.
I don't think so. No.
Well, thanks, guys, for being brave enough to be the first people to join our call. We will have more. And as I said, they're drop-ins. So, if you have an issue and you want to come, that's fine. We're just trying to catch up all the issues before everybody heads off in quite disparate directions. And again, get into teams. Get involved in the team space. Well, why am I telling you four? You all are active. You three are all active. So, all right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
And I
Thanks,
might
Dawn.
see some of you tomorrow in our teacher academies on interaction and coding.
Yep. Hopefully I can drop in the afternoon at some stage.
Cool. Please
good.
do.
All right then. Thanks, Bron.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
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 Bye, guys.